You will never own a home. The average price for a house right now is $450,000 and the average salary is $58,000. What this means is that people like you and me will never afford to buy a house. Apart from that, you will need a perfect credit score or the perfect salary in order to qualify to buy a house, which is hard to begin with. Getting a good job nowadays requires high education, such as college or university, which are not cheap. And even if you spend all those years and money pursuing higher education, you still might not get hired, since nowadays companies are asking for 5 to 10 years of experience while paying entry-level workers as low as they can. What this means is that you will need to spend 5 to 10 years working entry-level jobs in order to get the job that you really want, not to mention the other 3 or 4 years you spend pursuing that higher education. So in reality, it's gonna be around 6 to 8 years for you to receive the job that will pay you enough to buy a house. And according to my research and statistics, 99% of Americans cannot afford to buy a house in 2023 and 2024. And things keep getting worse. The mortgage rates are rising above 7%. Apart from that, the insurance and property taxes are increasing at an alarming rate, making a lot of existing homeowners going into foreclosure and essentially becoming homeless. A leading theory is that new houses are not being built, causing existing houses to go up in price dramatically. For example, a house that was worth $200,000 just a few years ago now goes for at least $420,000 on the open market. And this brings me to the next topic on this video, which is affordable housing. Things are so out of control that affordable housing is now considered to cost around $400,000. To put things into perspective, the average person gets paid around $59,000 a year, which means that affordable housing should be around $150,000 to $250,000 and not $400,000. And the result of these inflated house prices are catastrophic, leaving countless houses and apartment buildings empty or going into foreclosure, simply because people cannot afford to buy houses nor pay for those houses nor apartments. Personally, I seen a lot of empty houses and apartment buildings in my area that are vacant, and judging from the size of the houses, they're asking $390,000 for a house that has 2 rooms, 2 bathrooms, and a medium-sized kitchen. So they're basically asking you for $400,000 for a house that is not larger than an apartment building. But that's not to say that apartment buildings are the way to go, because they're not. Apartment buildings are getting worse too. Rent nowadays goes for $1,500 to $2,000 a month. And this leads me to the next point I want to make. Housing is so unaffordable that people are beginning to clump up and live together. For example, one of my friends is currently living with 6 other people in a 2-room, 1-bathroom apartment building, simply because he doesn't have the money to afford living alone anymore. Houses are getting more expensive, and such are apartments, and you're still getting paid the same. Almost everybody nowadays are living above their means, leaving a lot of people to experience poverty and other such things. To put things into perspective once again, in order for you to buy a house, you need to be earning at the very least $110,000 through $150,000 in order to buy a $450,000 house. And even if you buy a house with that price, it won't take long for you to see that you're basically burning through your money, because house prices are not the only thing that are out of control. Bills are also expensive, especially groceries and basic human necessities such as electricity and water. Not to mention that if you get paid $110,000 through $150,000 yearly, you probably have to pay student loans, and that is another factor that you need to add into this equation. But to be 100% honest, the worst part of this situation is that you will be wasting your money in the end. Just a few years ago, a 3-room, 2-bathroom house was worth $230,000, but nowadays is worth $450,000. That is over $200,000 worth of differences in just a few years. And most of the time, those same houses come with large list of defects and issues. For example, I'm currently buying a 3-room, 2-bathroom house, and the house was was supposed to be worth around $410,000, but we got it for $260,000 because it had too many issues and defects that we had to fix out of our own pocket. For example, it has major electrical issues, meaning that if I turn on the light switch from the bathroom, the light from the kitchen will turn on, vice versa. And if I turn on the light from my room, the light from the living room will turn on, and vice versa. In fact, the electrical work done to this house was so bad that most of the lights don't even switch on half of the time. Apart from the electrical issues, we had to buy a new roof for the house because the old one was leaking, and we also had to replace the whole AC unit since the old one didn't work. Also, I started buying this house a few years ago, and I did a appraisal for this house, and now it's worth around $440,000, which is insane because it has a lot of issues and a lot of defects. And to be 100% honest, this house is not worth over $190,000 on a good day, let alone $440,000. But moving away from the housing problem, we also have a job problem. Lately, I seen major layoffs and jobs paying less and less and asking for more. For example, one of my friends applied to a low-income job that pays $15 an hour, and they asked and requested for a diploma and at least 2 years of experience. A $15 an hour job should not come with a requirement of a 2 years of experience because it doesn't make sense. It's an entry-level job. But in doing research for this video, I found something that made me extremely angry and that should be classified as illegal, and that is that companies and investors are buying hundreds of houses at once and reselling them for hundreds of thousands of dollars above the asking price. For example, they buy a finished project for $100,000 to $150,000 and they resell it for $450,000 or more. And as I mentioned before, they do this with thousands of houses at once. And what this does is inflates the house prices so much that no one can afford them, leaving you essentially homeless and renting for the rest of your lives because they control the demand and they control the price, meaning that they can charge whatever they want whenever they want. And in my opinion, this is a monopoly and should be illegal because a lot of people are suffering from this, including myself. I am currently going almost into foreclosure because I cannot afford to keep buying this house even though it has horrible problems that I cannot longer attempt to fix because there is no money. But in doing research for this video, I found a lot of theories, and the best one I've seen so far is that there is not an actual shortage of homes. Instead, they are simply just too expensive. And this makes sense from a logical point of view. A few days ago, I made a video talking about the increasing levels of homelessness and how homeless people are evolving. In that video, I mentioned a trick that homeless people do, and that is that they move into recently finished vacant houses or just vacant houses itself in order to have a place to stay on. And honestly, it's not a bad idea since nobody is living there and no one is buying new homes anyways. Also, police cannot legally do anything if you play your cards right. But don't get me wrong, I don't like squatters. I just cannot stand investors and companies pricing homes so high and making people suffer for profit. It's like giving them a taste of their own medicine, essentially. So in theory, these homeless people are fixing two problems at the same time, which are homelessness and the housing problem. And I don't see anything wrong with that, since no one except greedy companies are getting hurt. Another theory is that people are not getting married or dating at all, and this causes less people to buy homes and have families, resulting in the majority of the population just renting for the rest of their lives. And actually, this is not even a theory anymore. It's reality. It's just a fact at this point. People are not getting married, they're not having families, so they don't really need houses because they cannot afford them, because you need 2 or more people working in order to afford basic necessities nowadays. The conclusion of this video is that in reality, you will never own a home, simply because there is no way to afford it. The average salary is $59,000 a year, and the average home is $450,000, not to mention bills and necessities. Apart from all of that, investors and companies are buying houses by the thousands and reselling them for high amounts of money. Not only that, you will almost need the perfect credit score and salary just to qualify to buy a house or take a loan. There are so many factors that you need to calculate, but the sum of those calculations will always give you the same result, which is that you cannot afford to buy a house. And yes, this is the end of this video. Thank you for watching, and I hope I see you guys next time. I will try to make a part 2 of this video, but But for now, take care and